In the headlines, Lagos state government commences free vaccination of animals over anthrax disease. Borno state governor visits Kukawa local government area, distributes food items. Leaders of organized labor boycott meeting with government officials on fuel subsidy removal. And on the international scene, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken calls for immediate release of ousted Niger president. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Now the news in detail. The Lagos state government, through its Ministry of Agriculture, has begun free vaccination of domesticated animals to forestall the prevalence of anthrax disease in the state. The permanent secretary of the Lagos Ministry of Agriculture, Olatokunbo Emokbaye, who disclosed this in a statement on Friday, added that the ministry had also enhanced the state's surveillance of abattoirs and slaughter slabs. According to Emokbaye, the free vaccination of domesticated animals would also be conducted alongside the inspection exercise. She said symptoms of anthrax disease in infected animals include sudden death and bleeding from the nose, mouth, ear, anus, and vulva in female animals. The government official stated that the blood discharge is usually dark, while dead animals from the disease will disintegrate quickly. National Veterinary Research Institute (VOM) says flood and frequent rainfall can easily spread anthrax, a disease that infects animals and humans. Executive Director of the Institute, Maria Mohammed, said this in an interview with Trust TV in Jos. She said the disease can remain in soil without detection for many years. Ado Musa has the report.
The confirmation of 2 anthrax cases recently in Niger and 1 in Lagos State by the NVRI has created fear not only among animal owners in the country, but also other people who may have contacts with animals. The executive director of the National Veterinary Research Institute said, though anthrax also affects human population, it is more deadly to animals, explaining that people should not worry about spread of the disease.
It's a bacterial disease, even though we do not have to worry about that. It occurs when cloven-footed animals, like I said, eat vegetative grass where the spores of this organism have formed into a deadly organism.
Asked what the symptoms of the disease is and if it can be easily detected, the executive director says signs can be recognized after some days, but in some cases, one will wake up and see his animals dying.
In some cases, they might not be, that is what is referred to as a per-acute case. In some cases, it might not be per-acute. It could take up to 20 days from when the animals are exposed to the disease before you begin to see signs. And some of the signs are, you find that the animal is bleeding from all openings.
She also speaks on the role of the Research Institute in fighting animal diseases like anthrax.
Locally, anthrax is known as safer. Most of our farmers and livestock owners understand it by that name. And we usually say to them, if you suspect that this animal has died of safer, there is no need to open it. You just take a little sample, even if it is just on a cotton swab, and send it to us so that we can confirm if it is.
The director said, due to increase in livestock population, the institute, which is nearly 100 years old, is trying to scale up vaccine production for the country and West African sub-region. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Still on health, medical practitioners identify major causes of hepatitis and how it can be avoided or managed as World Hepatitis Day is commemorated. Jonathan Awanyai sends in this report from Asaba.
Medical experts have expressed concern over the prevalence of viral hepatitis, adding that there is a need to increase sensitization and improve access to diagnosis and treatment. In an interview with Trust TV in Asaba, they harped on the need for improved awareness, especially around hepatitis B and C, which are the most common in the country. According to them, major causes include use of herbal drugs, unsafe sexual practices, self-medication, consumption of excess alcohol, poor personal hygiene and poor sanitation, unscreened blood during transfusion, among others. They added that it is important to be vaccinated against hepatitis to prevent infection.
That will make someone to contact the infection, like all these bad behaviors, like having to do with multiple sexual partners, indiscriminate use of needles and all these things, and then be able to screen, especially for people that work in the hospital, and if they should be careful with when you are giving somebody blood, make sure that it's blood that is properly screened, and the pregnant woman gets tested so that if you know you have the disease, because you can pass it on to the fetus, you get tested, get vaccinated, or get treated if you are positive of the infection.
It's preventive. It's something that can be prevented. If Nigerians are aware of hepatitis B, many of them that have died before wouldn't have even died. It's avoidable death. They take their vaccines and they know they live a healthy lifestyle. They should not be sharing needles or unhealthy sexual intercourse. They have to prevent themselves in order not to have it. And screening is very important. They can go for screening so that they will be able to know if they are positive. And once they are positive, it's for them to go to the hospital to be treated.
Jonathan Awanyai for Trust TV News.
In its efforts to reduce the hardship faced by residents of the state, the Borno state government has distributed palliatives to over 20,000 resettled residents of Baga, Doro and Cross Kawa communities in Kukawa local government area. The distribution exercise is in fulfillment of the state government's desire to provide palliatives to resettled communities in the affected local government area. From Maiduguri, Adamu Ngulde completes the report.
Governor Babagana Umar Zulum's gesture reached 13,000 households in Baga town, 3,500 in Cross Kawa, and 6,500 in Dorombaga. Each household gracefully received bags of rice, spaghetti, and maize grain, with women receiving a rafa each. Governor Zulum confirms net response to distribute essential food palliative alliance perfectly with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's food security agenda. Addressing the beneficiaries separately in Baga, Doro and Cross Kawa, Umar Zulum restated his administration commitment to address the challenges affecting their respective communities, which include rehabilitation of the educational facilities destroyed by the insurgents and recruitment of qualified teachers to teach both Western and Islamic education.
I want to assure you that government of Borno State will very soon re-establish a very functional health facility for all.
He further assured farmers that he will liaise with security operatives to ensure reopening of road leading to the fish dam, noting that this will play a vital role in boosting agricultural productivity and improving the livelihoods of local farmers. In an interview, some beneficiaries extend their heartfelt appreciation to the governor for his outstanding efforts, commitment, and assistance in addressing their pressing needs. Really, government of Borno State has done a lot to us. We pray to Almighty Allah to bless our leaders at all levels. The fact is that we should be grateful to government because I and my family have benefited from the gesture. My name is Sani Adamu. I received 2 bags of maize, so I and my family are grateful. My name is Babagana Audu Baga. The government has come to our aid at the right time. May Allah bless the government for the support. At Cross Kawa, the governor went around markets and personally engaged with local traders, gaining valuable first-hand information about their obstacles and day-to-day activities. From Maiduguri, Adamu Aliu Ngulde, Trust TV News.
A new approach to learning in basic primary schools has been introduced to help reduce number of out-of-school children in Nigeria, particularly the girl child education. Education specialists disclosed this to journalists at the Central Primary School, Misau, Bauchi State, during an assessment of the new system of the Know the Level of Commitment towards Achieving Sustainable Development Goal 4, Target 2030. Adamu Imam completes the report.
United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF designed a special education system accommodate out-of-school children. Under the system called Teaching at the Right Level, TAL, irrespective of the level they stopped going to school, pupils are put together in the same class and taught basic numeracy activities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Abdurrahman Ado, education specialist with United Nations Children's Fund, says Nigeria is unlikely to achieve SDGs 4, looking at the percentage of out-of-school children across states of the Federation.
In terms of increasing the number of out-of-school children so that we reduce the number of out-of-school children and also to improve on the learning outcome. And we will see that even when we look at the financing of education, we look at it that still it's not within the threshold, and the threshold is about 36 GDP percentage, and which you look at for Nigeria, it's not up to that percentage.
Teachers are trained how to handle the method, using objects that depict what they are being taught that will sink into their heads.
Governments. UNICEF sponsored that of Alkali. State government took off Ningi and Zaki. They are now in the field doing the job, and we are here now in Misau. These are all efforts of the executive governor of Bauchi State, and we commend him for that. And we pray we will scale up when we see the importance. From record now, 37 pupils came back to school. They were out of school. 17 of them females, 20 of them males, as a result of TAL approach. So it's very commendable.
Education Secretary of Misau Local Government Council, Alhaji Abdul, said the new approach has greatly improved the education system of the area. Chairman School-Based Management Committee, Saleh Jarmaju, commended UNICEF and SUBEB for the new system, saying the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria is alarming and must be addressed.
State government is wonderful of methods of teaching. The plan is that it documents our literacy and knowledge.
Education specialist Abdurrahman Ado said the system was introduced in 2018 in Borno State to augment what is done in the schools, considering the insurgency that kept children out of school. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
The scheduled meeting between the organized labor and the federal government ended abruptly on Friday evening with the representatives of the Nigeria Labour Congress led by the national president, Joe Ajero, walking out of the venue because of quorum was not formed. A member of the Labour delegation who spoke on the condition of anonymity said the federal government was not ready for the meeting and none of its senior representatives showed up for the meeting. He said there were supposed to be 3 subcommittees that would brief the steering committee on progress made so far, including the mass transit, CNG, and cash transfer subcommittees, but none of them showed up for the meeting. Recall that the steering committee meeting had met with the government delegation on Wednesday, where the 2 parties agreed to reconvene on Friday to get brief from 3 subcommittees set up to look into various demands. The steering committee was set up by the government to come up with palliatives that will cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal on workers. The Nigeria Labour Congress has shown discontent with the federal government ever since fuel prices jumped from 533 to 617 naira per litre and has called for protests on the 2nd of August. The National Working Committee of the ruling All Progressives Congress has fixed its National Caucus and National Executive Committee meetings for August 2nd and 3rd, 2023. This was contained in a statement issued Friday in Abuja and signed by the party's acting National Secretary, Festus Fuanta. He said the notice of the meeting was issued pursuant to the APC constitution, adding that the venue for the National Caucus meeting is the banquet hall of the presidential villa in Abuja. On the other hand, the party's NEC meeting, slated for August 3rd, is scheduled to be held at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. Earlier, the ruling party had fixed July 18 and 19 for the conduct of the two meetings. It, however, was forced to postpone the two meetings following the resignation of the former national chairman and secretary and Senators Abdullahi Adamu and Iyola Omisore, respectively, on July 16. You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break. Katsina shop owners say IDPs become a nuisance. Do stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Trust News Update, a recap of our top stories. We told you that Lagos state government commences free vaccination of animals over anthrax disease. We also told you that Borno state governor visits Kukawa local government area, distributes food items. Moving to other stories, an economist, David Akigi, said stabilizing the economy is the best solution to the country's cost of living crisis. He's contributing to the ongoing debate on increasing minimum wage to 200,000 naira following the fuel subsidy removal. Jimmy Adzande sends this report from Makudi.
Nigeria's economy is impulse-driven, which explains its rising inflation as response to external market forces. Rising cost of living worsened when government announced fuel subsidy removal, prompting the organized labor to begin agitation for salary increase. These economists say salary increment to workers may provide a short-term solution, but will eventually create more problems for the country.
Compared to the proposed 200,000 naira minimum wage, if that is implemented, first, in the very short run, it will have impact. But if other economic parameters that affect people's welfare, such as inflation and other important parameters, are not worked upon, you will discover that within a short while, the impact, that is the net impact, will be diminished value. There will be diminished value, that is the real value will be diminished. So it will not amount to any welfare enhancement.
The issue of negotiating up to 200,000 as minimum wage now, given the present economic realities, I don't think it is realistic. It is not in the sense that you already have the recurring component of the government expenditure rising far above the capital expenditure, which if you want to drive growth, it should be the capital expenditure that should be higher than the recurrent. So at the moment, what the government should focus on is to see how they can bring down the prices of commodities in the economy.
They urge the government and the organized labor to think about creating value for the economy.
Because unless we're engaged in production, the value of our naira will continue to go down. We are operating, or we are part of the international market now. So whatever we're putting out there should be something that has value. Presently, Nigeria exports crude oil. No value is added to it. As you can see, we've lost refining capacity. So we can't earn in dollars. We need to start earning in dollars for this particular kind of inflation to go down. So we may put 200,000, 300,000, but if we're dealing with the international community and the value of our currency is low, as you can see what is happening with fuel prices going up and coming down. So what happens if you increase it to 200,000 and we now have to buy a dollar at 1,000 naira or more?
They argue that some states have failed to implement 30,000 naira minimum wage, wondering what will happen if the Labour suggestion of 200,000 naira minimum wage is approved. Jimmy Azande, Trust TV News, Makodi.
Traders at Fatima Baker Central Market in Katsina are not happy with the conduct of some internally displaced persons who occupy shop premises. The traders say the IDPs, mostly women and children, are becoming nuisance to them, especially at night. Abdullahi Ahmadi completes the report.
Though no IDP camp was created for the internally displaced persons in Katsina State, women, mostly from Basari, Safana and Gangara local government areas, running from the ravaging banditry in their localities, called this place their home. They are solely depending on begging at the central market to survive. They usually pass the night at this market and in the process constitute nuisance to shop owners.
It is not our wish to leave our homes for the sake of coming to the city and be begging. No, it is out of necessity. Most of us have many dependents. Our husbands and parents have been killed by bandits. What else do you expect us to do? We are victims of banditry and have nobody to depend on except God. That is why you see us hanging around this central market. We beg for arms to survive and we sleep here at night as a last resort.
Traders say the IDPs often defecate openly, a situation they say is unacceptable and unhygienic. This elderly woman, though not an IDP, is from Dankaba village area of Kaita local government. She is sick and has been here for about 8 months without medication.
As you can observe, I am sick and down with malaria for long, with no one to take care of me here. I'm old and seriously weak. Someone bought some drugs for me the other time, but my challenge now is what to eat.
Katsina residents are appealing to the relevant authorities to assist these vulnerable people, at least to save the society from another calamity. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
No fewer than 205 stranded Nigerians have been evacuated from war-torn Sudan, the federal government said on Friday. The returnees arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport Pilgrims Terminal. They were received by officials of the National Emergency Management Agency, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, and the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, among others. Of the 205 evacuees, 160 of them are adults and 45 are infants. This is the 17th batch of returnees from Sudan, believed to be the last set of evacuations, and brings the total number of returnees from the war-torn country to 2,858. NIDCOM confirmed this in a statement in its Twitter handle. On the foreign scene, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Saturday called for the immediate release of ousted Nigerian President Mohamed Bazoum and the restoration of democratic order in the country. Leaders of a coup in Niger declared General Abdurrahman Tiani as head of state on Friday, saying they had ousted Bazoum in the 7th military takeover in West and Central Africa in less than 3 years. Bazoum has not made a statement since Thursday morning when he vowed to protect hard-won democratic gains in a post on social media. Blinken told journalists in Brisbane, Australia, he had spoken to Bazoum by telephone without providing further details. Before the uprising, Niger was seen as the West's most stable ally in an unstable region. Blinken said a U.S. economic and security partnership with Niger worth hundreds of millions of dollars depends on the continuation of the democratic governance and constitutional order which has been disrupted in the last few days. And with that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.